He's called the father of the Green Revolution. Hundreds of millions were at risk of death.
He kept driving this kind of thinking and innovation. He did not think conventionally.
There's few people that have put their fingerprints into humanity and history like he did.
And yet, not so many people knew his name. Dr. Norman Borlaug, Iowa native who received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1970. Dr. Borlaug is a great story. He was born on a farm in a township called Saudi of Norwegian immigrant parents, went to high school in a town called Cresco, was a wrestler, and learned some of his greatest lessons in high school and in college on the wrestling mat. Learned to never give up. He went to the University of Minnesota. We in Iowa think that's perhaps his only mistake in life, that he should have gone to Iowa State, but actually, thank goodness, he went to Minnesota, because it was in Minneapolis and St. Paul during the Depression that he saw homeless, hungry people sleeping on the street. As he would tell me, he remembered that as the inspiration that drove him all through his life. In 1944, he goes to Mexico, and he spends the next 2 decades working in remote parts of Mexico with the poorest farmers, trying to develop a new variety of wheat.
Here's an individual saying that we can double yield production. That was something that was just unheard of. But once you start to achieve success and you break through those top barriers, there's no stopping. The innovation and the creation just continues to go on and on.
He didn't work out of a lab, and then when he had an innovation, just said, go and take it. He worked shoulder to shoulder with farmers and worked with them to teach them how to use that technology.
I'm always reminded he was famous for saying, you have to take it to the farmer. And in order to take it to the farmer, you have to be able to communicate with the farmer in his language or her language. I think he had that ability.
Eventually, by combining Mexican wheat with Japanese wheat, he has his eureka moment, and he produces this new variety and uplifts Mexican farmers beyond anything they ever could have imagined.
True innovation kind of has that effect where it's not just, hey, I have a thing, or I did a thing, or I made a thing, and one person benefits from it. But it's actually, I would say, revolutionizing an industry, an approach, or people's lives. And I'd say in this case, it was definitely all three of those.
In the mid-60s, in South Asia, India, Pakistan, we're facing imminent mass starvation, famine. Hundreds of millions were at risk of death. They asked Dr. Borlaug to come, and he shows up. He convinces both the Prime Minister of India and the President of Pakistan to adopt his new seeds and his whole approach to agriculture. And they do, and it works. And the famine and the starvation and the millions of deaths are averted. It's the beginning of what is called the Green Revolution.
This saved India as a country, because prior to him bringing this grain of wheat, famine was very common in India. But the grain of wheat that he came up with needed less water and had a shorter growing cycle. So the amount of productivity of wheat in India went up dramatically.
That it enabled literally millions of people to have a different trajectory for their lives, to do things because they were well nourished that they could have never accomplished otherwise.
It's been said that because of his work, 1 billion people were able to eat and not starve.
And I'm sure when he was 20, he never envisioned feeding 1 billion people. But once he got in, he didn't give up. When he was in disease-resistant wheat, without question, he failed many, many times. And so in your life, you're gonna fail. But it's how you react to failure. It's how you get up and you change course, and pretty soon you're amazed at how things start to come together. And Dr. Norman Borlaug showed all of us that's how you do things.
1970, Borlaug's back in Mexico. He's out in the fields. The phone rings in his house. It's a call from Oslo, Norway, from the Nobel Peace Prize, to tell him that he is to return to the land of his ancestors to receive the Nobel Peace Prize, the first person ever from agriculture to receive that award.
There was nothing about him and for himself. It was everything for humanity.
Not only did he take it to India and Mexico and places like that, but he basically tried to build a culture of people that could do it and celebrate people who would do the same thing.
On the day that he passed away, September 12th, 2009, he said, "I have a problem." They thought maybe he was uncomfortable or needed water. He said, "Africa." He hadn't fulfilled that mission yet.
I mean, he devoted his life to improvement of people's lives and feeding this world. What a great objective to put your life to work for.
I think the legacy has to include a recognition that science can make a difference and that individuals doing science can make a difference.
When we wake up every morning, that's the question that we need to ask ourselves. Am I bringing the very best out of me? And hopefully, he will inspire a lot of next generation people, because we need more Dr. Borlaugs in this world.
The problem isn't completely solved, and if there's any opportunity, it's to use the discussion of Dr. Borlaug to inspire another generation.
How do we take it personally, and how does it affect us today? How do we learn from the success that he's had? And I think it comes down to a simple statement: never give up. You don't listen to the outside noise. You put in the hard work, and we can have quite an impact.
I am but one member of that vast army of hunger fighters, and so I want to share not only the present honors, but also the future obligations with all my companions in arms. For the Green Revolution has not yet been won.